Welcome to Tween Book Talks this week. It's Gabby, and I am so excited to share with y'all 3 books that have really impacted my reading these last few weeks. They're books about family, but some of the tough things around family, tough events that can happen in the world. As we all know, life is messy. I wish it was just once upon a time and they lived happily ever after the end. But as we all know, life isn't that way sometimes. However, all of these books that I'm going to share with y'all are inspiring in their own way. They remind us that just because there are difficult circumstances doesn't mean that we can't rise above them. Sometimes, yes, we have to live in them, but often someone will come alongside us that helps us through them. The first book is We Dream of Space by Erin Estrada Kelly. Now, you might recognize her name. She won a Newbery Award for her book, Hello Universe. Now, this book involves 3 siblings, Fitch, Cash, and Bird. Yes, all interesting names. They all are very different siblings. One is an athlete who is obsessed with sports, but he's broken his arm, he can't play, and he kind of has a crush on a girl. Then you have another one who is more fascinated with playing video games and old arcade games than anything else. And then you have Bird. Bird is fascinated by space. The book takes place in the year 1986. Ask your adult if they can think of something involving space during that time frame. Well, they might tell you about the Space Shuttle Challenger. That's what this book centers around. Bird is at school learning about the upcoming shuttle launch. She's fascinated by it. She's fascinated by all of the astronauts that are going to go up into space, including the 2 women, Krista McAuliffe and Judith Resnick. In fact, it's Bird's dream to become her own NASA person. She really just dreams of space. The other advantage with space, well, it can mean an escape from home. Her parents yell at each other a lot. She can't relate to her siblings. Space just seems like a better option. Well, as you might imagine, this book follows the ins and outs of a family trying to navigate just life and their differences and how a tragedy brings them together. If you've asked your adult about the Challenger, they might tell you that in 1986, the Challenger exploded shortly after its liftoff at Cape Canaveral in Florida. My parents actually lived in Florida during this time and saw the space shuttle fall apart. I will say this book handles tragedy in a very, very great way. And yet, it's hopeful. My favorite, of course, was the ending and watching all of the siblings come together. But for those of you that also love about space, this book is the book for you. Now, another book that you guys might enjoy involving family is also involving food. And y'all know I love food. This is called A Place at the Table by Saida Faruqi and Laura Siobhan. And it follows 2 girls. Now, Sarah is in a new middle school. She's left her Islamic school where she had friends, and now she's at a new school. She doesn't have friends. Her mom teaches a home economics class. And she gets bullied quite a bit because of her diverse background. Then you have Elizabeth. Elizabeth's mom is British, and she's really struggling. Elizabeth's grandma had passed away, and her mom is just really depressed, and she's worried about her mom going back to England and leaving her family. Well, when these girls get paired up at the cooking class, they don't exactly get along. I mean, think about it. They come from very different backgrounds. But food is the great unifier. Elizabeth is really interested in learning about Middle Eastern cuisine. And then Sarah loves learning about Elizabeth. They also share something in common. Their moms are both studying for their citizenship test. So they decide, what if we bring them together and help them find a friend Maybe it will ease their struggles of becoming a U.S. citizen. This book tackles a really interesting topic besides food, and the food will make your mouth water. And yes, there's recipes in it. A Place at the Table tackles immigration in a very wonderful way, as well as standing up when you hear racist comments. I was actually really impressed with how the book handled it and how diversity was encouraged and promoted and advocated. I highly encourage you guys to read A Place at the Table. I am so glad I did. However, if you only get a chance to read one book, I highly encourage you to read this next one. It's called Fighting Words by Kimberly Brubaker Bradley. Again, you might recognize her name. She wrote the book, The War That Saved My Life and the War I Finally Won. Really great books, right? This book is very different from those. And as you've come to find out when you read the author's notes, it's her story. It's a modern tale about two sisters, Della, and Suki. They both only have each other. Why? Well, they're currently in foster care. They've left a very difficult situation, and both of them are struggling with what to do with it, and they're struggling with school. Delia knows why they're in foster care, but there's more to the story. Full disclosure, there might be trigger warnings associated with this book. This book tackles very tough topics. In fact, in the author's words, and I'm going to read it to you, she says, and I quote, as she's thanking people, she says, "You not only allowed, but enthusiastically encouraged me to craft a novel for 10-year-olds featuring sexual assault, a suicide attempt, foster care, homelessness, meth addiction, and 86 uses of the word snow in place of another 4-letter word." Now, I know what you might be thinking. This book doesn't seem like it's great for 10-year-olds. I beg to differ. This book handles those difficult topics in a very sensitive way. However, these are things that a lot of us will encounter at some point in our life. Or we know somebody who perhaps has battled with homelessness, who is in foster care, who has struggled with an addiction of some sort. And unfortunately, there are some that have been victims of sexual abuse. The book doesn't get into great detail of that, although you do find out how the sexual abuse happened. But the book is about standing up for being a voice. It is a book about consent, regardless. And I don't even mean just with sexual assault. I mean with someone even touching you. Some people aren't comfortable with that, and they don't want it. I encourage this book for all ages, but especially for the young women out there. This is just an inspiring tale. I loved both sisters. I resonated with both of them. I loved the insight into the foster care system. That is the topic that is passionately on my heart. And to see it in so many different layers was really, really beautiful. Again, there might be triggers for some people that unfortunately have had such violence enacted on them. But this book can help you remember that you're not alone. And as I said, it was a true story. Well, I will let the author get into that herself. As you can see, all of these books are about family and about tough topics. But I think tough topics need to be read sometimes. I would encourage you to check out all of these books at our catalog. You can find it at www.mld.org. Put them on hold, and I would encourage you, if you live in the city of Meridian, to use our home delivery system, and we would have a wonderful driver come and do contactless delivery and deliver these books to your home. What have you guys been reading? I would love to hear from you. Or have any of these books piqued your interest? Again, I'd love to hear from you. Share your comments below. or tag us at Meridian Library on all of our social media platforms. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.